Hello, my name is Justin. I am the field director of the Dominican Republic here at Casas por Cristo. Today, we will be reviewing in 3D space on a program called Google SketchUp how to assemble our Mexico house. This training is not intended to replace training, but to supplement it. So if you're an intern and you just come on our training builds in the beginning of the summer, this is to help you review and understand, maybe fill in some holes in your memory. If you're a volunteer who we've called to help lead a build during a busy season, hopefully this will help fill the gaps in your memory as well. And we want you to be as comfortable as possible with the build so that you can build relationships and have a good time during the build. So let's get started. Every build starts with an empty lot, as you see in front of us. You will be given a pile of materials that you'll discover at your site when you scout it out. And in that pile of materials, you will find different size 2x4s. We're going to start by showing you how to put together the form sides, and then we will connect them together in the lot. But I just want to show you what we're using as far as 2x4 sides. For the shorter sides, so the front of the house and the back of the house, we are going to use a 12-footer, an 8-footer, and an 8-footer. So a 12 and an 8 together, and 8 joining them together. Everything nice and flush and together. Put a nail about every foot or so nailed all the way in when you assemble this. Some people like to leave the nail half out. My preference is to nail it all the way in because you don't want this form bouncing on you at all when you have cement inside, when you pour concrete inside the form. On the longer side, we use a 12-footer, a 10-footer together, and then an 8 to join them together. Same principle, about a nail every foot driven all the way in. So you're going to make 2 sides of each, and then you'll have your team carry them over to where you're going to build the home in the lot, and we're going to connect them together, and I want to go over that with you right now. So we fashion our form sides into what's called a pinwheel. This prevents us from having to cut any of the lumber. We're going to use the lumber later in the house. We try to be as efficient with the material as possible so we don't have as much waste to keep the home as cheap as possible for the teams that are coming and paying for the experience and the build. So what you're going to do is you are going to measure 17 feet on the shorter side, so the front and the back of the home. And you're going to do it basically by measuring from right to left or left to right on each side. And then you will fashion it together. So on this particular side here, you would have pulled your tape measure from here this way, 17 feet, and you would have made a mark just like that. And when you have your mark, you'll make a line, and then you'll either with an X or some way, shape, or form designate the side that you want the other perpendicular form to connect into it. So we want the concrete, the slab, to be exactly 17 feet wide. So we would put an X on this side or something like that, like an X, something like that. So we'd say on the X side of the line, put your board there. So that's just an example. Okay, so 17 feet is the width of the home or the slab, but we also have this other way, which is from back to front of the house. You would measure 20 feet 1 inches. So, on this one here, or if we're going to connect it the other way, since we measure the other one right to left, we're going to measure this one right to left. 20 feet 11. Okay. Got our mark. We make a line, put an X so we know where to put it, and then we would continue this in a circle like that, right to left, right to left, right to left. And then what you'll have, as they nail where you marked, it'll form this sort of pinwheel shape. You're going to use 2 nails, at least 2 nails, to nail the forms together, and then you want to make sure that you're perfectly flush right here. That'll make it really nice when you go to screed, and you won't run into any problems later. Once all the forms are connected and you've got a rectangle here, a 17 feet by 20 foot 11 rectangle, just show you those dimensions one more time, or 20 feet 1, I'm sorry, 20 feet 1 rectangle. You can go ahead and put corner nails in. So we put nails right into the corner, sticking up exactly 2 inches from the form to the nail head. You have to measure each one if you're using line levels to level the form and not a transit level. If you're using a transit, then you don't really have to measure. You just need to get it basically around 2 inches. So once that's in there, we can go ahead and you're going to take a tape measure and you're going to pull from the inside corner of the form here to the far inside corner. So you can see we have a measurement of 26 feet 3 3/4. So what you would want is to go to the other side, pull corner to corner. So let's do that. Look, you got 26 feet 3 3/4. So what you need to do is to get both measurements exactly the same. So in a perfect world, it would be 26 feet 3 3/4. But sometimes a measurement is off by 1/8 of an inch or something like that. But what you really want to do is make sure that your measurement's the same, so you have a perfect square going on here. We can make a nice square slab. So pull those. Once they're pulled and they're even, have somebody hold it, and then you can go ahead and get these metal stakes out of one of your tool bags. You're going to drive them into the corner on the outside of the form, and you want the top of the stake to be just below the top of the form. And you're gonna basically do this in all 4 corners. Normally, what I do is I find the side, something on the site that I want to straighten the house up to. So, say there was a road out here. This is a road, right? I would stand in the road, and I would make sure that this is running pretty parallel with the road. If the family told me they want the home to go here, and then I would set my 2 stakes. I would pull corner to corner, get them even, and then I would set my back 2 stakes. Maybe it's a fence line right here that you're going to straighten the forms up with. So, maybe you'd pull a tape measure from the fence to the form, and from the fence to the form, get them even. Drop your 2 stakes, pull corner to corner, and then put your other 2 stakes in. Whatever you're doing, you basically want to make sure that the home isn't going to sit all funky inside the property, that you want to square it up to something, either an existing home, a fence, the road, whatever it may be. So once the corner stakes are set, you can go ahead and run your string line. So we have a string line that's provided in your toolkit. You're going to wrap that string around those 4 nail heads that are sticking about 2 inches up, or if you're using line levels, exactly 2 inches. And you want the string to be nice and tight all the way around. We're going to use this string to straighten up the sides of the form, but we'll also use it to place our line levels on if you're using line levels. So once the string is run, you are going to make sure, so since our nail is right in the middle here of our form side, and it is over here as well, that back corner. You want to make sure that the string is basically running right down the middle of this form side. So you need to move this form in or out to make sure that that string is right over the middle of that. Once you have it on all four sides doing that same exact thing, you can stake all the way around. So let's see here. That's kind of what you want to do. So some people have different they do this in different steps. But the principle is that you want to straighten up your sides, and then you want to make the form level. So you could go ahead and you could level all four corners now. You could have done it before you placed your middle stakes, or you could do what some people do and place all your stakes in the correct position first, and then go around and level up your sides. It just really depends on the state of your site, how much digging or earthwork you think you need to do to get the ground ready. If you feel like it's like going to be a foot out from one end to the other or whatever it is, you just kind of got to make that call on site. So let's assume that we only did the corner stakes. You would, if you're using a transit, you would have somebody hold the yardstick on top of each corner. You would shoot each measurement. You would pick the measurement that you want to go to, and then you would make that measurement the same in all four corners on that yardstick as you look through the transit level. If you're using line levels, you're going to place a line level on the string in the middle on each side. You'll have four of them. And then you will decide basically what side you want to level first. So say your back corner is the height that you want the whole slab to be at, you would probably start there. Or if this is the corner that you want to make everything equal to or level to, then you would start in that corner or whatever it is. And then you would, if we start here, you would adjust this side so that the bubble on the line level reads level. And then you're going to go in a circle just like we fashioned the forms together. You would get the bubble right here by moving this side, and then this side and this side. And as you go, you're going to put a nail through the stake into the form to hold the height of the form level where you would like it. Same goes with the transit level. If you have the yardstick on there and you shoot it and it's what you want, drive a nail in. Let's put those stakes back out there. And then once your corners are set, if this is the way that you like to do it, then you're going to go to each stake, and you're going to, if you have a transit, you're going to shoot each stake with that yardstick looking through the transit level, and you're going to get that same measurement all the way around. And you're going to nail it in. You're going to nail a nail through the stake into the form as you go around. Notice that all my stakes here are below. The top of the stake is just below the top of the form, so that we can screed the concrete easily later. So yeah, that's the process. Once that's all done, you can have somebody take your string line up so it doesn't have to be there anymore. You're going to explain to your team that nobody can step on the form. You don't want to have somebody step on it or put something heavy on there and you messed up all that work you just did. And then you are going to do two things to the inside of the form. You are going to get the dirt to the right level. Here's an example of a dirt screed board. Maybe you have a different way of building it, but this is an example that would work. I'm using two 12-foot 2x4s overlapped and nailed together. And then I have two scrap pieces of wood as handles nailed on. So what this will accomplish is we want our concrete to be 3.5 inches thick, or the same width as the form, 3.5 inches. So this is a guide for us to get the dirt level right inside of the form so that we have that consistent 3.5 inch slab the whole way. So you're going to start from one side and you're going to drag this screed board, this dirt leveler all the way from one end to the other. You're going to have your team inside moving the dirt where it needs to be, and you want that dirt to be basically even with the bottom of that form there, or that screed board there, and even with the bottom of the form, the whole way down. If you have the suspicion that your screed board has a little bit of a bow in it, you can run a string line from the top of the form here down the center to this side over here, and that'll just make sure that your screed board isn't bowing at all in a way that will compromise what we just talked about with the levelness and the depth of the form with the dirt. So once that's all done, you can take that thing out and tear it apart. Basically, those 12 footers came from your material pile, and you'll give it back to the crew you have cutting your lumber to use to cut the wood they need to cut. And then you're going to dig a footer all the way around the inside of the form, a shovel wide and a shovel deep. So you're going to use a spade of the shovels that you have to measure that. So that should all sound really familiar to you. Once that's done, you have everything is nice and level inside of here. It's 3.5 inches deep, and then you dug your footer all the way around, a shovel wide, a shovel deep. You can pat yourself on the back and get ready for your concrete truck. So your paperwork will come with a time that says when your concrete truck is scheduled. I would suggest getting familiar with that time the day before or a couple days before your build, so that you know how to communicate with your team the day before about what time you need to leave from the office on the El Paso side, or if you're already in Mexico, what time you need to leave the church and arrive at the site. So you have plenty of time to get the form prepped before the concrete truck gets there. If you have a pretty level site and it looks pretty easy, 2 hours is about right probably to get it done. If you're not feeling very confident, maybe give yourself a little bit more breathing room. If you know you have a lot of dirt to move before you even can put the form down, because the site looks really unlevel, you might even want to give yourself more time than that. So just evaluate the situation and make the right call on that. So when the concrete truck gets there, you're going to have a bag of fiber that you're going to give to them. I like to pour it in a bucket and add some water, a little bit of water to it, and swirl it around. And then he'll take the bucket, you'll hand it to him, or she, if it happens to be a she driving the concrete truck, and they're going to add the fiber into the mix and mix it around. Once that's done, you guys can go ahead and pour the floor, just like that. You are going to use a 2x6. I clicked the wrong button there. A 2x6, the straightest one with no crown in it. You don't want it to crown this way or this way, or have a bow in it. You don't want it to bow this way or bow this way. You want it to be as straight, the straightest one you got, and you're going to use that one to screed the concrete, meaning you place it on top of your form, and as you fill up the form with concrete, you're going to use that, and you're going to move it back and forth to level out the concrete flat with the top of the form. When it's all poured, you're going to use a bowl float to get it really nice and get a nice top, smooth top on it, so you can easily finish trowel it. And then you are equipped with finish trowels to trowel this thing nice and shiny for the family. You're going to put anchor straps in. There are these things that, if you can remember, they bend down. This one bends apart actually to two different sides, and then the wall will be set down. The walls will be set down on the edge of the concrete, and those will wrap around the bottom plates of the wall, and then you'll nail them in with 8-penny nails. But you want to make sure you get these things in while your concrete is still really, really wet. There is a guide in your handbook on where to place these anchor straps. So if you're not familiar or you're missing that page, just follow this basic principle. Wherever corner you're going to put the porch, don't put anchor straps in that corner, and then the other 3 corners you want to come off about a foot or so, and then you want to make sure you're about 2 inches from the edge of the form in, no more than that. That'll land you right about in the middle of the wall when you stand the wall on top of it. And then you're gonna put one basically every, coming down the long sides every 7 feet or so, something like that, just kind of evenly spaced. You can see 2 on the side here, 2 in the back, 2 on the side, 2 in the front, or actually, yeah, 2 in the front here. If you get it wrong, you can always cut these later with tin snips or whatever you got, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. But there is a page in your guide to show you how to do that. I'm going to get rid of these now. Actually, I'm going to make a lot of this disappear here. And then we'll keep on going with marking our lines for our floor. Once you have the slab poured and the forms off, you're going to disconnect those forms and clean them up pretty good, and then give them back to your cut crew so that they can cut what's remaining left on your cut sheet. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to mark lines. You're going to mark lines on the floor so you know where to stand your walls at, and your team will also know where to stand the walls at. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So if you look on the plan, you'll notice on the layout page of the bottom plate, I'm going to pull this sheet out too with you so we're on the same page here, literally. You're going to notice that the home is 16 feet 11 inches wide by 20 feet long. But you'll also recall that our forms were 17 feet by 20 feet 1 inch. We did that because we're giving you guys a inch or half an inch of leeway on all the way around the house. So knowing that a 2x4 is 3.5 inches wide, and also knowing that we added an extra half an inch all the way around, we're actually going to start by measuring 4 inches instead of 3.5. So I like to take the longest side, one of the long sides, and I like to mark out wall A first. So we're going to do that now. So you're going to pull out from the corner in 4 inches, and then you're going to do the same at the other corner. And then what you want to do is chalk a line on that line, so it'll give you a nice straight line. Even though the edge of your concrete here might be bowed in or bowed out, from each corner you'll have a straight line, and that's exactly what you want. And then we're going to mark out for wall 1. So again, we're going to pull 4 inches. You're going to go where you marked the first or the second time on this back. You're going to pull up the line 4 inches, make a mark, and then this is the most critical step of doing this, because we are going to use a little bit of geometry to get a right angle back here so we can chalk this back line. So we use what's called a 3, 4, 5 triangle. It's a triangle that has a 90-degree angle in it, but we are going to times 3, 4, and 5 by 2, and you're going to get 6, 8, and 10, and those are the measurements we're going to use. So the 8 side, you're going to pull from that point you marked here this way 8 feet. You're going to get a point out here. And from that same point, you're going to pull the other way on this back side 6 feet. You're going to get a mark right there. So the program puts this dotted line in. Ignore that. We're just looking for this point here. Then you're going to take a speed square, and you're going to set it here on this line you made. And basically we want you to make a line there so you have plenty of line to pull your angle and to mark on this line. You'll see what I'm talking about here. So you pulled from here this way 8 feet, and you pulled from that same point the other way 6 feet. You made a big line on 6 feet, and then you're going to pull from this mark towards that line. You wanted to get 10 feet exactly. So obviously it's a program. It knows exactly where it is. Once you have that, we'll do this 10 feet. Once you have that, where it intersects there, the tape measure intersects this line at 10 feet, you're going to put a line like that. Like, oh, let me put it, there it goes. A line just like that, so that you know where to chalk your line. So let's undo all that so we can see. So once you pull from, once you've done that and marked your line out here, I know I made it disappear, but just imagine your line is still there. that X you have. You're going to pull a chalk line from that point. You're going to make it line up with that line that you drew right there at 10 feet. You're going to snap a line along this back edge, just like that. So you should have a perfect 90-degree angle right here. Once you have that, we're going to go ahead and pull for wall B. So in order to do that, you're going to pull 9 feet from this point. So from this point on, you're not going to use the edge of the concrete at all. We're gonna use these two straight lines at 9-degree angle that we have with the lines that we created. So you'll pull from that point there, inside point, out 9 feet, 1/4 inch. This is all in your plans. You're going to do the same right here. You're going to pull from that point, from that line in 9 1/4. You can mark your line there. You'll notice that I pulled an additional 3.5 inches here and from here to here to get this other line. It's just basically to show our team exactly where the wall is going to go, so it's easier to visualize. That's the only reason I do that. So because we've marked wall B, I like to go ahead and just mark wall C out here. In order to do that, you're going to take a look at your plans and look at the bottom plate layout page. You're going to notice that the house, again, is 16 feet 11 inches wide. Knowing that the width of a wall is 3.5 inches, and we want to pull from the inside of the wall to the inside of the wall, so the inside of wall A to the inside of wall C, we needed to subtract 2 wall widths. So that would be 3.5 and 3.5, which makes 7. So we're going to subtract the width of the house, which is 1611. Subtract 7 inches, and you're going to get 16.4. So you're going to pull from that back corner this way, 16 feet 4 inches. You're going to do the same from this line this way, and then you're going to snap a line this way. So that will give us the line for wall C. If you notice, if we put a tape measure on this and just take a look, it's 4 inches. So that's correct. You'll have 3.5 inches of wall, and then that extra 1/2 inch leeway there for you. Okay, so once you have the line snapped for wall A, wall 1, wall B, and wall C, we can go ahead and pull the other way to get the remaining walls. So let's go ahead and pull for wall 3. Make sure I know which one is wall 3 here. Yep, that front one. So if you look on your plan, the bottom plate layout page, you'll see that the home is exactly 20 feet long from outside to outside. So we're going to pull inside to inside. We need to subtract that same those same inches, the 7 inches for the widths of our wall. That's going to give us 19 feet 5 inches. So we'll go ahead and mark that. And you're going to pull the same here, 19 feet 5 inches. You can go ahead and snap your line on that one. We can go ahead and pull for wall 4, which I believe is going to be this one. Yep. So you'll see on that bottom plate layout that this wall, wall C, or the width of this part of the house from outside to outside is 18 feet long from the back of wall 1 to the front of wall 4. So what we want to do is subtract the same 7 inches from 18 feet. You'll get 17.5. So you're going to pull up this way, 17 feet 5 inches. 17 feet 5 inches. That'll give us that point. And then we can go ahead and snap the lines for wall 4. Again, I did it on both sides. So the first one I marked was this one at that 17 feet 5, and then 3.5 inches more. It will get you the outside of the bottom plate there for wall 4. Finally, we come to wall 2, and you're going to pull 9 feet 6 3/4 in. Feet 6 3/4. You're going to do the same from here this way. So from the inside of that wall 1 pulled up this way, same thing, 9 feet 6 3/4. You can snap your lines there. Again, I did it on both sides. Just make sure, you know, if you pulled it from here 9 feet 6 3/4, you know that is the that line is the representation of the side for this back room. And then if you pull this way and snap it, then obviously you're off about 3.5 inches. So you got to make sure that you're pulling 3.5 inches towards the other side of the house, the front part of the house, or into the other room, so that it lines up perfectly. When we stain the walls, you'll kind of get an idea of what these lines are going to do for you, if you can't remember. Once all your lines are snapped, we can go ahead and actually assemble the walls and stand them. So let's go ahead. I like to throw in wall A first. I'm just going to point out a couple things. I'm actually going to go show you the wall and the ground. So see that 1/2 inch we got all the way around? So that's going to be important here. You know what? Let's take a look at this wall first. So wall A is the tallest wall, flat wall that we will be building. The stud lengths are 79.5, which you'll find on your cut sheet. It has 2 corner posts on each end. It has a U-joint that connects these 2 sides together. And then it has blocks on each side of that U-joint for drywall later or blackboard, so it's easy to nail to it. So that's kind of how it's assembled together. You'll see this in your plans on how to lay this out, and hopefully this is familiar to you. You'll notice that, remember, the U-joint, the blocks need to be on the side of the U-joint that will be facing the inside of the house on wall A. So you can take a look at how that worked out when we stood it. Notice that those inside blocks are facing the inside of the house. They're flush with this side, not this side. You see that? So what I like to do is I like to mark, I like to pull from the corner, from the corner of the house in 3.5, and mark a line, and then line that line up with this line for wall 3. That way you have that, you're a 1/2 inch, you have that 1/2 inch out here, and that when you stand up wall 4, it's going to be perfect on that line, and it'll be flush on this outside part, which you'll see here shortly. So once you've lined wall A up on that line we chalked here, and then you've measured it 3.5 inches and you lined it up on this line, and it looks good, you can actually have your team go ahead and drive a framing nail in between each stud into the floor. But they want to drive it kind of towards the inside of the plate so that it doesn't bust out the concrete the other side. Once you're happy with the placement of this wall and it's all nailed down, you look back here and it's like, oh yeah, this lines up real good. It looks real nice. Go ahead and you can bring over wall 1, which I like to stand next. Just a quick note here on the edge of the concrete. What's important for lining these walls up are the lines that you chalked, not the concrete, because this slab can have some sort of bow out or in on the edge. So make sure you're using the lines to line it up. This is a crazy wall. This gives us the pitch in our roof. So every one of these stud lengths is different. You'll see that in your plans, but also notice when you stood this wall up that the inside blocks of the U-joint line up exactly with those lines you chalked. Now, because that's where these blocks are where walls that are perpendicular will connect to. So if these two lines or this line here that you chalked doesn't correspond with these blocks with the U-joint, there is something wrong, and you need to figure out what the deal is. This one doesn't have corner posts in it because it connects into the corner posts of wall A and wall C. It has 2 windows in it. All this will be shown to you in the plans and should be familiar. So let's go ahead and throw in wall 2. Same deal. Every length is a different. Every stud is a different length to give you the pitch in the roof. This one is just studs, and it connects right into those blocks in that U-joint in wall A. So same goes here. When you put wall A in, if these 2 lines didn't correspond with these 2 blocks, or these blocks in the center of this U-joint, then you know something is amiss and you need to figure out what it is. So when you connect a wall into these U-joints, into the blocks, you want to make sure that you're lining these walls up perfectly on those blocks on each side, and then you're going to put 2 nails, at least 2 nails in through the touching stud into those blocks, at least 2 nails, framing nails in. So on this one you would have at least 6. You could even go 3 in each, and that would give you 9 total. Go ahead and put in wall 3. Wall 3 is going to hopefully line up on the line perfectly that you chalked here. And you are going to, where the blocks are in this corner post, which I'll show you. You see that block in there and block in there. Block in there. You're going to put the same thing, 2 or 3 nails in each block from this stud into those blocks. Make sure that your corner here. Oops, sorry about that. Let's get a good angle here. This is flush here, flush all the way down as you nail. You could have, when you put wall 1 in there, this back wall here, you could have gone ahead and lined it up on your line that you chalked, the inside of that wall, and nailed it in. I wouldn't recommend nailing in to the floor wall 2 and 3 yet till you see how it's going to work out into wall B. That way, if you have to do any kind of adjustments, you have less nails to pull. Let's go ahead and put wall B in. Wall B has a side with an overhang at the top and not at the back. It'll connect right into that back U-joint into wall 1. you'll notice, let's go take a look at the wall actually back here. You'll notice that there's a lot going on in this wall. There is a corner post and 2 U-joints. The U-joint towards the front of the house or towards the corner post here, the blocks have to be facing or flush with the opposite side as the middle wall. And it needs to be flush to the side that the porch is going to go on for this front U-joint, and then this one will be the opposite direction. You'll see how that kind of works out when we take a look at the house. So there's going to be a wall here that connects into that U-joint, but the wall 2 connects into this side of the U-joint. So make sure you're facing your blocks and your U-joints the right way, or you're going to have to add them after you stand your wall up. If everything looks really nice, just like you're planning, go ahead and nail it in here. Same principle into those blocks of the U-joints, and nail it in here into that corner post, nice and flush right here. And then move this bottom plate so that it lines up on those lines you chalked. You probably have a little bit of a bow in these bottom plates. Push it either way, and then have someone nail it down into the concrete floor through the bottom plate here, the framing nail. Just be wary not to do it where the doorways are. I like to put 2 or 3 nails on each side of the doorways, so like here and a couple there and a couple in here, just to help hold those when you cut these sections out here, to help it hold it really down, to help hold it down really nice to the floor. You can go ahead and put wall 4 in. Same kind of principle. It's going to connect into that U-joint that we were talking about here. A couple nails into each block. Make sure you're in your chalk lines, and then go ahead and place your final wall out here. Flush with that corner post there and here. Nice and flush. Connect it all together. Nailed in. Nice on that line, nail it down, and once it's all nailed down, you can have somebody go ahead and bend your anchor straps around the bottom plate and nail them in with 8-penny nails. You want to put at least 3 per strap, 3 nails per strap, and then you'll be in good shape. So basically our bottom plates are set, but our walls are not plumbed still. We're going to have to take our 4-foot level and plumb all our walls up. That's one thing that you'll have to do before you can really start getting going on this house with all the different various projects that go into it. So I'll show you that, but before I do that, you'll notice that these rake walls here, these walls that have the pitch in it, they don't come even with the top of wall A, B, and C. That's because we haven't put on, in our example here, we haven't put on our second top plates yet. So if you get to this point and it doesn't look right like that, like it's not even right here, this wall doesn't meet the top of this wall, you need to remember to put your second top plates on. I didn't put them on right now or beforehand, just because I wanted to show you what it would look like if you hadn't put it on, and hopefully it'll serve as a reminder that, oh shoot, I forgot to do that, I should do it. So you can go ahead and put them on at this step in the process, no big deal, or you could have put them on the ground over there before you stood the walls up. So let me throw them on. You're going to use your form wood to do this probably. So the wood you took off the forms, you're going to use a rather large one for these middles at the top, because you want to brace this seam together with as much wood on each side, much board on each side, so it's nice and stable. And then you'll have these shorter end ones. So it should take about 3 2x4s to do your second top plate on wall A, B, and C. Let's throw our braces on there and our level just to show you. I put this level here just as a reminder, but I'm going to refer to here in a second. When you're bracing your walls, let's take a look inside here. You need to grab your 1x4s out of your material pile. You want to nail into the bottom plate of the wall you are plumbing up with a brace, because this bottom plate is solid to the floor. You can't have it like up here nailed because this isn't solid up here, because we're anchoring the wall. You need to anchor to something solid. So you'll notice I have it all the way down to the floor. I would have put an 8-penny nail in there, and then you will put the level on the wall, get it nice and level, have people help you push it and hold it, and then you'll have somebody nail the brace in just like that. One up here, and then maybe 1 or 2 or 3 on every stud or whatever, to help hold that as firm as possible. To plumb up the wall 1, wall 2, wall 3, and wall 4, you're going to put the level on wall B to do that. So the reason we do that is there's a little bit of discrepancy with the plate sizes. It just helps to get it as close as possible. So if you were doing wall 2 here, for example, plumbing it up, you would stick your level right there, right where wall 2 is, read it level, and then brace it. On this one back here, on wall 1, you could have put your level against that and then braced it there, and you kind of get the idea. You need a brace on every single wall, every single one of them. If you don't, if you're missing one, then it's going to be all wonky on you when you do sheetrock and blackboard and the roof and things like that. So brace every single wall. This wall here, you could brace it from here up to there to keep that from getting off, from being flappy, but you actually don't need to do that. There's a technique you can use as you place the rafters in to straighten this up and make it the way that you want. And we'll explain that here in a minute. Once that's done, we can get rid of the level, and you can set up for the first sheet of blackboard for your team. You'll break your team into different groups to pick a side and do blackboard. Let's use this side as an example. You need somebody to measure from this corner of the wall up 48 1/4, and then go to the opposite corner and measure from the bottom of the wall up 48 1/4, and you're going to snap a line across the studs. So let's kind of do that with our tape measure. 48 1/4. You'll have a line that goes across these studs when you snapped it right there. That'll be the guideline for your first row of blackboard. You're going to do this all the way around the house, 48 1/4. 48 1/4. Why not 48? Well, maybe there's a hump in your floor, so it's going to give you a 1/4 inch of play, so that give you a 1/4 inch of play so that you can compensate for humps. So we can get rid of this line, and let's go ahead and put up our first piece. So that first piece you'll hold up to that line that you had there. Let's put that line back just so you can see. Changed my mind. There we go. See how it's up to that line? You're going to hold it right up to that line the whole way, and then you're going to get roofing nails in your nail crates. You're going to go ahead and put a nail at the top, holding it up to that the whole way, every single one at the top. Now notice this first piece is a whole sheet, and it comes halfway on one stud here, halfway on one stud here. It can't end in between two studs because that's not a solid edge. It has to come halfway on a stud like this, and then another one will be able to share, the next one will be able to share it, the same stud, and the same over here on this side. So you want a nail on the top. I like to do one nail in the middle on each stud and then one into the bottom plate. Some may say that doesn't seem like a lot of nails. It's enough to hold it on the wall. You're actually going to put a ton of nails through the blackboard into the studs when you put your chicken wire on later. So 3 nails per stud to start is fine with me. Let's take a look at it and see what that would look like once we've blackboarded the entire house. Get rid of that line, and let's put on all our blackboard. If only it was that simple. Notice I staggered the seams, so I didn't do the same thing on the top row as I did in the bottom. That is how I choose to do it. If you have some reasoning why you wouldn't want to do that, I guess that's up to you. But for me, I think it makes the wall a little stronger. So I have a whole sheet here, and then I've cut these to be even with the side of the wall, so flush with the side of the wall. And then on this tall side, you don't have to cut at the top at all. On this end, you can kind of see we cut out these windows flush to the inside of the window. Same here, flush to the inside of the window. We cut it flush with the top of the wall here. Notice the kind of crazy thing we did here is I stood one up. That's fine, no problem. You can do that. So I have 4 whole sheets here, a little sliver here, stood up here, and then one standing up in the middle there. That's, I think the width is cut on this one. And then again, cut flush with the top of there. This stuff scores really nice with a box knife, box cutter, your utility knife, or whatever you call it from whatever part of the country you're from. You just score one side, it snaps, and then it's that simple. Notice we cut it even with the inside of the doorway, just like the windows. Once that's on, you can do a lot of different things. You can, number one, you can take your braces off. That middle brace, though, on wall 2, leave this one on until you have your roof all framed in. So we'll just take it off for now, but know that you left that brace on there because it won't be this. There's nothing keeping this wall 2 solid until the roof's in. You could put your door in at this point. We won't do an explanation of how to hang a door. If you have any questions about that, ask a staff member when you get into town about how to do it again. It's really difficult to demonstrate on this program. You could do chicken wire. So let's do chicken wire. You put your first, basically you're going to cut a piece to be the length of the wall that you're doing. So this one happens to be 18 feet long. So you'd cut it at 18. You would unroll it on the wall, start at the top like we did here. Put it flat on the wall so there's no bubbles or anything. You would nail down the one edge, have someone pull it tight on this edge, nail down that edge with roofing nails. You're going to put a nail like every 6 inches or so. And then what I do is I find where the studs are, and then I put a nail at the top, and then I work my way down that stud every 6 inches, putting a nail and stretching this chicken wire tight as I nail. You want this chicken wire to be tight, no bubbles on the wall. Do whatever you got to do. Get your team to do whatever they need to do to make sure there's no bubbles, because that's how you need the chicken wire to be for stucco. So it's not loose and stucco doesn't fall off the wall easy after it's dried on there. Let's go ahead and put all the chicken wire on. So I overlapped it here about 4 or 5 inches. And then you'll have another piece at the bottom probably, just depending on how wide your roll is that you get at the time. And then you'll have to cut the length there. But basically you're nailing this in to cover the whole wall and be flush with the outside of the walls. You would take a pair of tin snips and cut out the chicken wire along the inside of the window, just like where you cut the blackboard. Same goes with the door in the front. We won't actually cut it out here, but you can see that. Once that's on there and the windows are cut out, you can put the windows in. These windows, obviously you want to look for the latch to go to the inside of the house. I know that sounds crazy, but we've had people mess it up. And then there's a way to tell what's the top and the bottom of the window. It's hard to explain on this program, but if you need any help with that, ask a CASA staff member when you are building the home or leading the home or before. These windows have tabs on them, you see, like that. You're going to nail an 8-penny nail through those tabs into the wood on the other side of the house, into those studs. So they should catch around this framed-in window should catch that wood as you nail through the tabs into the blackboard into that frame there. So use an 8-penny nail and put at least one in each corner and at least one or two in between. Make sure that your window's level. So maybe that sill in there is a little off or it's sitting in there funky. I would put a level on your window and just check before you nail it in and go crazy. So that's just my advice with that. So we put all 3 windows in. There's a brace that you can nail in. Basically, we make a brace to support this roof weight right here. So how you do that is you take 2 2x4s and some leftover blackboard or a strip of OSB that you can cut, and you're gonna cut 2 2x4s to be 34 inches long, and then you are going to cut a 45 in like that, so it's 34 to 34 outside to outside point. You're going to do the same with the blackboard or the OSB, and then you're going to put that blackboard or OSB in the middle like a sandwich, and then nail that together, and then you're going to stick it right into this corner. You can put screws or nails, and it's going to nail into that corner post inside, and then nail it into there nice and flat and perfect, just like that. You can put J-channel in. So there's this channel stuff you should remember. It goes at the bottom. It has a little track at the bottom. That's where the weight of the stucco is going to sit, right onto that. There's going to be holes in that J-channel, and through those holes you're going to nail this J-channel with roofing nails into the bottom plate and into the stud, even with the bottom of the house, all the way around the house, wherever there's blackboard. So we see how where we came to the edge of the door here, something like that. You can put corner bead on. Corner bead is it makes a nice 90-degree corner for the corners when you put stucco on. It has like a netting. Sometimes it's just like the chicken wire, sometimes it's not. Put it tight to the house. You're going to cut it with tin snips to run the height of each corner. So from the blackboard here all the way up to the top of the blackboard up there. Cut it and then put it real tight to the house. Make sure it looks like a nice 90-degree corner. And then put a nail, every 6 inches on each side of this corner bead, each side, to make it real nice and tight to the house. Let's go on the inside of the house and take a look in there. So, not going to show you how to run the electrical, but I'm going to show you the items that are in the house. There's a breaker box that is well off the floor. I like to go like at least 60 inches off the floor, at least. Sometimes 70 inches. And then you're going to mount it so that it's sticking about halfway or half an inch out from the stud that you're going against there. That way sheetrock can fit in there nicely and it'll be flat with the sheetrock, outside the sheetrock. There are outlet boxes and switch boxes. There are 2 outlets per room, each room, and there's a double switch box for the light in the inside of this room, and then there's an exterior light. You're going to have a single switch in each room, and then you'll have your outlet boxes again. The outlet boxes, make sure they're the same. I like to go about 20, well, let's go, I think it's 18.5 that I use. 18.5 inches off the floor up to the center of the box or to the bottom of the box. When you mount these boxes, they have tabs on them. I'm going to show it to you right here. Those tabs need to rest against that stud, and that'll give you that 1/2 inch you need for the sheetrock to go in there and to be flat with the outside of the sheetrock. You're going to do the same with the switches. See that? That's how you do it wrong. See that? Nice, and it's not sitting on the tabs, but it's flush to the outside of the box. Don't do that. Let's find a correct one. Because if you do that, it's going to be really hard on you later. Maybe I didn't do it right with these switches. Sure didn't, but I did with the outlet, so that's what's important. These switches, I like to go 48 inches off the floor, or 48.5 inches to the center of the box normally. It's kind of what I do. We'll stop there. We'll wait till we get the roof on so we can show you the light boxes. So once that's done, what else can you be doing? You can do insulation. You should be able to remember that pretty well. Just make sure you're covering. Basically, the insulation goes all the way around the outside of the house and the walls. You're stapling. There's little tabs on this insulation that you're stapling into the side of the stud or the face of the stud. You're going to use a staple. You should have a stapler, a couple of slap staplers maybe, and you'll have staples in your nail crates to be able to do that. Just make sure you're filling this whole area in from top to bottom all the way around. And if you got any left, shove them in as many little nooks and crannies as you can to keep this house as insulated as you can. All right, so you can start your roof system at this point as well. You could have probably got it going a lot earlier than this, but we'll show it to you now. You're going to have 2x6s here that are provided in your pile of material. You're going to cut them to be 17 feet, 10 inches long, just like I'm showing you here. 17 feet, 10 inches long. You're going to lay out these rafters every 2 feet. So if we got rid of these rafters, you would pull on each. Actually, we'll go from the front of the house back. You'll pull from the edge. You can go 1 foot, 11 1/4. That'll be the side of the rafter, and you could pull it another 1.5 inches, something like that. Well, didn't do exactly what we wanted. You could pull it to the 2 foot and 3/4 mark. That'll line it out where it's supposed to go. But the important thing here is it is 2 foot center right there. So you're going to pull it and lay it out just like you would a wall. Let's get rid of those 2 lines. Every 2 foot you're going to put those rafters. Let's put them back. You're going to take framing nails and toenail on each side of the rafter, wherever that rafter sits on wall A, B, or C. I like to do 3, so 2 from one side, 1 on the other, just my personal preference. Laid out every 2 feet all the way back. Now, this is where we need to talk about wall C here. So let's put those braces on just to show you. So if this is braced here, this wall is solid. This wall is solid. This wall is solid. It's braced by the blackboard if you took your braces off. We want the same overhang all the way down wall A here. Let me go ahead and take a look at the overhang. So the overhang we need to be 4 3/4 on wall C. So you want the rafter to overhang 4 3/4 that way, right? So if you do the math, it's 1710, right? Take off 4 3/4. That's going to leave you with 17. Oh, I'm not that smart today. I guess I need some more coffee. 1710. Taking off 4 3/4. You're probably screaming at me. It's this, you idiot. I'm telling you, it's 5 3/4. So 17, 5 3/4, right, is the remainder. So you can do a couple things here. Let's put those rafters back on. You probably have your way of doing it, but what I would do is I would nail this first one on out here, this first one on out here. Okay, so you got the two outsides set, and then I would run a string line from here to there, okay? So that you have a nice line right there so you know where each end of these other ones should be lining up on. That's what I would do. Second thing I would do, I'd run the string line from here to there to get that perfect. To make sure, just to keep a guide, just to make sure you're keeping this nice and straight. And then come to this one and the back one and measure the overhang from here to here. So this says 5 3/16 of an inch. So you probably won't be reading it from to the 16th. So you'll probably get 5 7/8 or something like that. So I would mark on each rafter 5 7/8. 5 7/8, make a line, and then I would line that up 5 7/8 on every single one with the outside of the wall on the wood part, not the outside of the blackboard, but the wood part. And then I would go ahead and nail that in on this side because it's solid, making sure that this is keeping a nice right on that string line you put there. And then come to this side. It should be running, each one should be running on that string line we had on the front, and then you are going to move that wall back and forth to line up to be 4 3/4 from the outside of the wall out. So you have to measure this as well, 14 3/4 as well, the whole way. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is get this, take a tape measure from this one and pull it down. Sorry. Pull it from the outside of this rafter down. So we have 17 4 3/16. So it could be 17 4 1/4, right? So get your line that way, every single one. Mark your line. Just find a consistent way of doing it so that each side has the same overhang, and you keep your walls nice and straight on the outside. So I hope I explained that well. If that didn't make sense to you, makes sense to me in my head. Ask a CASA staff member to review it with you on what their method is, but that's basically what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to get the same overhang on the rafters on the outside of wall C and wall A, and you want those walls to be straight, those top plates to be straight. So Yeah, when you have those nailed, you can go ahead and come back in the middle and nail down your rafters through the middle where you marked every 2 feet on center. So once those are on, we put blocking in. We do 2x6s on the outside, and in the inside we use 2x4s, and I'll show you where we place them, how you'll mark them. This block is flush with the bottom of the rafter. It's coming a little bit over on this wall, top of the wall A, and then also into the room, this back room. And I'm going to show you the inside of the house here so you can see, because that's going to be pertinent here. See that? So you'll have enough to nail down this block into the tops of these walls to hold it, and also in the side of the rafter. Nice and flush here. But this is going to give you something to screw to for your sheetrock. And then you're going to pull a tape measure from there up 4 feet. Yeah, somewhere 4 feet. And then you want to center this next block, 2x6 block, on that 4 foot mark. And you're going to pull another 4 feet up this way. Center that one there. And then you're going to have another one that splits this wall B right in the middle, and it'll give you a nailer on each side to be able to put a screw in for your sheetrock. You can see that. And you can go ahead and nail that down to the top there and into the side. If you're wondering what this distance is, it's 1 foot 9 3/4. That should be on your cut sheet. So take a look at that. The same principle goes. Whoa, let's see here. There we go. On the inside here, go from the corner up 4 feet. Why are we doing that? Because that's the width of the sheetrock. So you'll split these blocks right in the middle, and it'll be easy to hang your sheetrock. The same principle is going to apply. Whoa, we gotta zoom out here. Getting crazy. There it is. Is going to apply with these other blocks. So the corner up 4, centered up 4, and then right in the corner, so you have something to screw on for sheetrock. Same goes here into that corner, just over wall B, up 4 feet this way, and then another one in the corner. The same goes for these as well. These 2x4s. These are 2x4s. You don't have enough 2x6 blocks. That's why these are 2x4s. So one down in the corner, just over wall A there, up 4 feet, crossed, up 4 feet, across, and then just over on wall B a little bit. You can see, well, let's get us in the inside of the house here. Again, just as a reminder, you'll have plenty in that corner to screw to for sheetrock. Make sense? Whew, we're getting there. All right, so once that's all in there, let's take these braces back off. You can take all that brace on wall 2 off, no problem. Everything should be locked in. You can go ahead and put on hurricane ties, if you'll remember those. You're going to go every other stud or every other rafter against the top plates there, then into the side of the rafter. You can use 8-penny nails or roofing nails to do this. Just make sure that that angle there isn't below the rafter, or you won't be able to put sheetrock on. So that's done. Light boxes. Find the one too many steps there. Find the center of these 2 side rooms, and this way and this way. Pick the rafter that's most in the center. You can go ahead and screw your light boxes in. Just depends on what kind of light box you got, but you might need to put a 2x4 across and then these on, or just all depends on what kind you have. But make sure that you're sticking a 1/2 inch down for that sheetrock. If you have plastic ones that nail into the side, or if you have pancake ones that screw right into the rafter itself, then it'll be easy to do that. So You'll have a light in each room. I put it not in the center in this longer room, but closer to the door, just to show you that it's not gospel that it has to be right in the middle. So if the family wants something else, you can ask them, and they'll hopefully point you to where they want it. The one thing I didn't draw in here is there's a light that goes out here for the exterior light. If it's a pancake box, you would hold it right up to where there's a stud at the height that you'd want, trace it out, cut it out, and then screw it into there and run your wire there. That's kind of how that goes. So you need to place your another light box for the exterior light. Let's do plywood. So plywood, it's a 4, a 4, and a 6, a 2. Or sorry, an 8, an 8, and a 6, a 2, an 8, an 8, and a 4, and then repeated. So you get to the top and you have to cut the width of it to match up. You want to go flush all the way around to the edge of the rafters, and then the ends of the rafters, flush everywhere. You're going to use 8 penny nails to nail this down. You're going to do at least 4, but probably 5 per rafter into each sheet. Once that's all the way around and nailed in good, hopefully everything was nice and square for you. We use a fascia board now. Let me show you. There's a piece of material you're going to see in your material pile. It's going to actually be like a hardy board siding type of material. It's going to be 8 feet long, and it's going to these bigger grooves here, or these bigger. See that groove there? It separates these panels into like 7 inches, 7 1/4 or something like that. You're going to take a saw and you're going to cut right in those grooves, and you're going to get a piece that's 7, 7 1/4 by 8 feet long. Just try to get them all to be exactly the same width. Basically just cutting the grooves out. Once that's on there, you're going to nail this fascia board all the way around to where it's flush with the top of the plywood. And then you're going to have boxed in corners just like that. You're going to use an 8 penny nail. 8 penny nails to nail this in. You're going to nail them into pretty high up if you can, higher up, like one here and one there or so on each rafter end, and then you have a lot of surface area to nail to on the sides of the rafters here. Do that just like that. Once you have the fascia board on there, you're going to nail down a drip edge. You're going to start at the bottom, coming up the side, and then the overlap is going to be over that bottom piece, so that when rain runs, it won't run underneath a piece, it'll run over it, if that makes sense. So you'll do one here, one, and then one there. I forget what the lengths of these are. I think they come in 10 feet, but at least overlap it like 2 to 3 inches or so. The staff has a technique to bend this piece around the corner, and it gives it a nicer look. You have to cut it and bend it. Ask the staff how to do that. Any CASA staff member, if you don't remember or not familiar, but really gives it a nicer look to the corner if you can actually wrap it around. So the 3 sides that you're going to do this drip edge is these shorter sides, and then the low side on the long side here. Low side on the long side. You can tell what the drip edge is it's this like skinny metal piece that is has like a 90-degree angle and a little like flap at the end. So the idea is if water gets here, it'll run down and just kind of drip away. So notice we didn't put it on the front side. Also, you don't nail this into the side. You just go through the top. So put one every 9 inches or so, a nail. Once you have that, you're ready to put your metal roof on. So let's go ahead and set our first piece. there are two sides to each piece here that are different. You have a side that has a completed peak here, goes all the way around and then has a little flat flap there. And you have a side that doesn't complete all the way around. The non-completed side is the overlap side. So we want, for our first piece, we want the overlap side to face towards the outside of the house, just like that. You're going to go to the top. You're going to match it up flush with the outside of the fascia board, just like that. You're going to overhang it like 1 or 2 inches past each end. So out the front end, you're going to come this way about 2 to 3 inches. I know it doesn't, it's not like that on the model. You'll see why. So if you only overlap it about this much, you're going to see what happens on the other end. And I'll show you what happens. You're going to, once you have it lined up here, it looks good all the way down here with your overlap, nice, and it's the same. You're going to put 5 screws per row. So you want to screw tight to this peak in the valley, right there, right where my pointer is. You want 1 here, a screw there, and then tight to this in the valley, but really nice and close to that peak on each end. You're going to measure about every 3.5 feet. So you'd pull a tape measure 3.5 feet, and you're going to do a row every 3.5 feet, and then on the very end as well. I'll show you how to line up your second piece. So see, that overlap end is facing, the piece is facing the same way where the overlap is going to actually overlap over the first piece. You want to line up the top of this peak here with the one underneath so that the lines run all the way the same up. See that? See how it's lined up? And you set it down. You're going to have somebody at the top making sure that it's lined up here. If it looks good, same set of screws the whole way. Pretty soon you'll be done. Should look just like that. Nice and straight lines everywhere. Now look at this overlap. See that? It's too much. So on the other end, try to go 1 inch to 2 inches of overlap, and you should be looking about the same on each end. If you're confused or not really sure, ask a staff member what's been working for them, and they'll be able to tell you what the deal is. So, all right. Once that's on there, there's one more piece to put on for the roof. We're calling it a ridge cap. It's a bigger 90 degree, just like that. It has no little flap at the end. Maybe the ones we will get will have it because I explained that, but these are about 10 feet long pieces, and it's definitely bigger than the drip edge. That's how I kind of tell it apart. So you want to overlap 1 or 2 inches, and then you're just, the deal with this is you're going to use the same screws that you use to put down through the metal pieces into the plywood, but instead of catching any wood, you're going to screw them down through the ridge cap into these peaks. Let's see if we can get a better angle here. So you're going to put a screw right down through there, just on the top, not on the side here, because we want it to look nice. So these screws, I didn't point out, the screws for the roofing screws, they have like a washer on them, and you don't want to screw them down too tight. You just want these screws to be snug, not to flatten out that rubber washer, because it'll lose its integrity and the roof may start to leak. So make sure it's nice and firm, but not too hard where you're squishing that washer and it loses its integrity. You can go ahead at this point and put soffits on. You're going to cut more plywood and you're going to put it in underneath. Let me take that one out of there. You're going to screw it into those same blocks we put in before. Man, I messed that up, didn't I? Okay. So right into there, you're going to screw. You can use screws. If someone's really a go-getter, they can use 8-penny nails, but you're going to use this screws that you use for sheetrock, those black screws. You're going to screw it in. Let me throw that first one in. It's going to go right up underneath. I use the nicest looking side down on the plywood. If there's a side with no writing, I like to use that side. And notice that this also terminates on this halfway down this block, because this is 8 feet from here to here. So you can do a whole run there, just cutting the width. You should be able to do another one from here to there, and then you'll have a little piece there. You'll need to do this soffit all the way around the house, all the way underneath. Cut to the width from the outside of the wall to the, basically here to the fascia board. Nice, covering it all, no gaps, looking nice and pretty. The only weird thing about this particular house that's different from the old style homes that we did is there's a really big piece where the porch is here. So let me take that off. You can kind of see where you nail it or you screw it in all the way around there. It's going to go inside here, inside to where this brace is, and this top plate comes out. You can see, just like that. I think you get the point of that. You could go ahead and use those pieces of 1x4 you used to brace with, have them painted earlier in the week, and you can cut your trim out to go around the windows and doors. We can stucco. Let me take off the couple of things here before we do stucco. Okay, so stucco is a mixture. I showed you, I gave you a little diagram here. 1 bucket of water, 3 buckets of sand. Each one of these are about 3/4 of the way full. And then a bucket, this is sifted sand by the way, so you should have a sand sifter either in your toolkit, or you'll have to ask the family to get you one so that you can sift the sand fine. It's no good if there's a bunch of little rocks in there. It's really annoying to put stucco onto the house. And then you're going to have a bucket of cement powder. You'll have a couple bags and a little shovel full of lime that goes in there, and that'll be about 2/3 of the way full. So half a bucket to 2/3 of the way full. You'll mix that together in a mixer, and then you have trowels and hawk tops to go ahead and put it on the house, which you should be familiar with. You fill in that track really nice at the bottom all the way, and then right where the soffit meets the house, right in this edge here, you should fill that in really nice as well, all the way around the house. It's going to go even with around the trim around there, make it look really nice, and then you'll have these finishers. They're like sponges to kind of sand this stucco nice and flat and smooth and pretty looking right before it gets too hard, before it starts to turn light gray and harden up on you. Just one more thing, guys, to point out, and then we are done with this training video. Let's get rid of this stucco. We're going to get rid of this roof. Okay, you'll notice the sheetrock inside. I just put a couple sheets in there to show you. If you do these rake walls first, so wall 1, 2, 3, and 4, well, actually 1, 2, and 3, you can run a whole sheet from the corner this way, and it'll land halfway on the stud. Likewise, once those are done, you'll be able to put a sheet from the outside corners coming this way in, and it'll run halfway on a stud. Also wanted you to notice that 2 sheets like this will go up the whole wall. You don't have to cut it. So you're going to shim it off the floor a half an inch or with another scrap piece of sheetrock, and then it'll fit in there really nice, guys. You want to use the sheetrock screws. You want to put at least 4 per stud into the walls per sheet, and then 5 on the ceiling. 5 screws per stud per sheet. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. If there's another stud here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Same on the roof into the rafters. You want 5 instead of 4. So that completes our training. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope it filled in some gaps, helped you remember how we assemble the home. This is exactly what it should look like. And we hope that you have a great time building. We appreciate you. Thank you for serving with our ministry. And I hope that your week goes well, your team is challenged, and the family comes to know Christ.